As the ghost of Christmas present vanished, Seto found his own room gradually returning to his sight. With a heavy heart and heavier limbs, he collapsed onto the sheets and sighed. How was he to know that his brother was so lonely, that his clerk was so destitute, that his clerk's son was so ill? The answer was simple. All he had to do was pay attention, but he hadn't been. Seto hadn't paid attention to anything outside of the company for a long, long time. He knew that. But it couldn't be that bad. Nobody's ever died from one guy being kind of a jerk, right? No, that was ridiculous. Seto sat up and looked around the room, knowing that the third and final spirit would appear any second. So far, each of the phantoms had surpassed any expectations the CEO had laid out, and therefore, this time, he would resolve to make no assumptions. That was when he saw it. That ominous, hooded figure standing in the shadowy corners of his room. It moved closer and closer, carrying with it an air of gloom and mystery. Seto could not see under the dark cloak. He had no idea what fate awaited him from this terrifying presence. The spirit reached up and removed his hood, and the young CEO gulped, fearful of the face he would soon see.
Let's get this over with.
Now that the hood was down, he didn't actually look quite as horrifying as Seto thought he would be. His hair was wild and white, well, a ghost, and his expression was one of utter boredom. He looked more like a spirit than any spirit before him.
Honestly, what manner of deprived, sick individual would dare tarnish my character with this pathetic little fable? I was once a serious villain, capable of striking fear into the hearts of fans of all ages. Now it's all British jokes and thief-shipping, whatever that even is.
Spirit, I hate to ask, but what is that upon your back?
He's here because I hate exposition, and frankly, the fangirls would never forgive his absence.
I'm Rio.
So, I am definitely in the presence of the ghost of Christmas yet to come? Lead on. I know time grows short and every second is precious to me.
No sooner than Seto had laid out the invitation did the spirit's own millennium item begin to glow, illuminating the night and rearranging their surroundings.
Don't be afraid.
When the city came into view around him, Seto expected some kind of Christmas-themed hour, to be taken to see the joys and wonders of this time of year. So when the spirit and his companion steered Seto into a dirty alley, he wondered entirely that he hadn't been brought to another place altogether. How was it that somewhere so low-class, so befitting of another world altogether, existed in the same city as his grand office building? They came upon two people, sitting together, swapping Jewel Monster cards. One had green hair and thick yellow glasses, the other a red beanie and jewel-coloured locks. They seemed deep in conversation.
Dead! Kaput! Destroyed! Torn to pieces! No longer in this world! Gone!
How did it happen?
Who knows? But I hear a certain brother had one heck of a breakdown afterwards. Tossed all his cards out a window. But luckily, yours truly found them.
No way! Where?
I have them. I hid them well. Now they're all ours.
I'll take this one. The Battle Ox isn't quite a dinosaur, but it is similar. And I think it'll make a fine addition to my deck.
I want his Crush Card virus. Oh, also, it's always good to have Monster Reborn in the mix, too.
Ew, a Mystic Horseman. Who would even use something like this?
On and on this went, the two scavengers selecting cards from the case, and swapping and choosing, and occasionally bickering over who got what. The more they did, the more worried Seto became, because whoever this unfortunate deceased duelist, whose former deck was currently being ravaged, was, the cards were eerily similar to Seto's own. But no, this couldn't be the case. Besides, neither made any mention of Seto's most powerful, sought-after signature cards, so this simply could not be the deck. Regardless, he wished to check anyway.
Spirit, it occurs to me that the case of this unlucky person may be my own. Tell me, am I set to die in the near future?
We can't tell you that. You simply have to watch.
But what becomes of Mokuba? Of my company? They seem so happy about my passing. Show me some sadness, Spirit. Someone who looks upon the death of another in the way they should.
Seto expected to be brought to Mokuba then, the only person in the world he could safely say would miss him if he were to pass on. But the scene around him changed as the spirit's ring glowed again, and it was not his own house he found himself in, but rather that of his clerk. It was so silent, so unlike how it had been last time. Before, the Moto family residence had been so colourful and full of life, but now the children sat quietly, not seeming to rejoice in the holiday season at all. Tia stared at the half-hearted table spread, and occasionally looked towards the door, and then back again. Seto's shoulders fell. It didn't take a genius to put the pieces together.
Oh no, not little Karibo. Don't tell me he was...
Discarded from the field. Yes.
As if those words were a cue, the door opened, and there stood Yugi, that typical bounce in his step gone. His children stood and walked to him, hugging their father with triplet morose expressions. Yugi in turn squeezed them all tightly.
How was it?
It was beautiful. It would have done you good to see the graveyard for yourself. He has a wonderful spot off to the right and at the front where he can see everything around. Listen, life is made up of drawing and discarding. That is the way of things. I am sure we will never forget Karibo or this first loss there was among us. And I know that when we remember him, we'll remember not to fight among ourselves, but to be kind and patient as he was.
A remarkable way of looking at it. Your ring is shining again. Of course. Time to move on. I understand.
As their surroundings changed once more, he found himself surprised to realize the Moto's loss had affected him too, and relieved to be free of it. But that relief only lasted a mere moment, as dread quickly set in. If any physical place had frightened Seto by only existing, this was it. He looked at the foreboding iron gates of the cemetery before him, all but shaking as he did. It was as if something was telling him that he was reaching the end of his journey, and what he would see beyond would be the most fearsome vision yet.
You are reaching the end of your journey, and what you will see beyond will be the most fearsome vision yet.
Oh, but this place was the dreariest yet. Old headstones, worn by weather and age, surrounded them. The sky itself seemed to know the patch of earth it covered, as it stretched out blank and lifeless above them, so cloudy that Seto could not tell if it was meant to be day or night. They wandered the winding path for an age, finally coming to a stop in front of the biggest, grandest, and worst-kept monument in the vicinity. A large, fearsome-looking dragon, Seto knew only too well.
Is this what you wanted me to see? Before I look at the name written upon that stone, tell me, are these the shadows of things that will be, or are they the shadows of things that may be only? Not all paths must be followed. Should a man change his actions, he will also change his future. Tell me it's true.
The spirit was as immovable as ever, leaving Seto no choice but to kneel before the stone dragon and brush away the dirt and dust to see the inscription. Here lies Seto Kaiba.
Ah, not as climactic as I thought. I mean, it was a little obvious, wasn't it?
Read on. I have other appointments.
Here lies Seto Kaiba's blue eyes white dragons, torn to shreds before his very eyes.
Oh no, spirit! Oh no, no, no! No! This is too much! Hear me, I am not the man I was. You must know that. Why show me such a tragic fate if I was beyond all hope?
The spirit said nothing at all.
I will live in the past, the present, and the future. I will change my ways and treat others with the kindness for which they are entitled. I will honor Christmas as it should be honored and try to keep it all the year. Just tell me I may sponge out the writing on this stone.
As Seto continued to grasp to the spirit, the cloth in his hand altered, and the cemetery began to melt away, along with Christmas yet to come and his companion. Without a figure there to hold him up, Seto fell forward, landing in his bed, with his balled-up fists, now grasping the covers.